Hey everybody, Nick Blazier here, doing something a little bit different today. I recently played a tournament in Ohio and have about 12 or so matches from that. And yeah, leading up to it, I was feeling like I needed to get my study in order a little bit and kind of brought my PR down from where it was before that. But I don't know, I'm still feeling motivated, like I can play better than I was, and there's a lot to shave off there. And a lot of this stuff I've been doing isn't really focused on like tightening up my game. So I thought maybe I could do something like my position analysis videos, but more centered around learning from my mistakes and making sure that I'm refining my own stuff. So what I thought I'd do is take these 12 matches and kind of go through the study process that I've used for a long time and kind of capture interesting decisions from that way. And so there'll be like some position analysis type positions that show up in here that I feel like I need to note. And my handy tools I'll be using as I go through here, you may have seen before when I do match reviews with students and things like that, I create a spreadsheet for like categorizing early, middle, and late and game types and things like that, and we'll add things to this as we go. And additionally, I like to make notes in Evernote. So a mistake that came up recently in a different match was this early game thing that I forgot. I don't know if you've seen this position before, but typically after the 5 splits, when you enter and have the option between hitting or anchoring, I guess it's common to hit here. I remember learning this at some point, but I had forgotten that with only 7 in the zone, you don't have that much to worry about, and you still have a foot on the ground to anchor should they hit back from the bar. So whatever, that's a specific one. But I love to really try to go through these positions and make sure that I understand what the real theme is before I move down on and feel like I learned from a mistake that I made. So we'll do that. We'll do that with one match in this video here and see how that goes. And maybe I will record myself studying from the rest of my matches as well, if it feels like it's helping me kind of with my study here. But I'll step through this one. This is a match with my student, Rob Crace. So he's just starting the game out too. So he was fine with his like intermediate PR there and stuff like that. I think he's going to be like working on shaving that down. I won't go too much into their decisions, into my opponents, unless there's something that really like kind of stumped me over the board and I learned from, and I'll flag that or something. But yeah, if it looks interesting and I catch it, I'll stop on that. But mainly I'll just be stepping through mine. And a thing that I've mentioned in the past as well is that I tend to go through all of my decisions too, just in case I remember something that looks confusing or I wasn't sure about over the board. And try to make sure like that I'm catching the ones that were close decisions and learning from those as well. So not only the mistakes that I made will I be going through, but I'll be going through those as well. This one I also flagged some mistakes like at the time that I played this match, which was like a week or two ago now, I think. So I might not remember my thought process quite as well anymore. And maybe those flags will matter the most, but I'll still kind of step through these and look through them all. Everything looking good so far. Yeah, why not make a point? Yeah, this is my first big one. So I think it's fairly obvious to me now after spending a little time with it. But somehow I just overlooked. It feels so thematic to stack the checkers up and have this very pure distribution and kind of work from there when you get these double sixes that have to clear something. And I feel like making the ace point is a little bit exceptional. And I guess my instinct was that making the ace point still left a lot of work to do to come home. And like I was going to have more like better builder distribution to kind of make in the higher points on my way home. But yeah, I can see after this play that I leave a couple fly shots. I was thinking with the 2 Blotzen board, I didn't mind leaving that fly shot either, but I guess I'm still in pretty bad shape when I get hit is a big problem with it. So just reducing shots is a big deal. I don't clear the deeper contact, and yeah, I still might like probably have awkward rolls that leave shots next time. So why not just put them on the roof, take the chance at having my opponent enter high and reducing contact that way? Seems like fairly standard holding game stuff. So not sure how I overthought that one over the board. A little bit of rust there. But yeah, so what I try to do in these as well when I'm studying from them is I'll copy the XG ID from XG here. And I would say, to me, this is kind of like, what does this look like? This looks like either middle or late game holding game decision, kind of. I'm going to call it middle game because there seems to be like a bit of room on each side to move. I still haven't made any board points or anything like that. But maybe late game would be fine since it's fairly decided that I'm playing a holding game and trying to bring that home with a little bit bonus. And my opponent's pretty solidified into contact with the better board. So it seems like very well defined that way. I'm going to pop up the spreadsheet. And we will call this, so what do I want to call it? Yeah, it kind of feels like a late game. What is the dilemma here is between, if we look at this again, between sort of purity and attacking. So it's a little bit, maybe game plan is the way to put it. There's also this like tactical element of like late game shots. So maybe I'll call this late game tactics. Because it feels like the kind of thing that comes up when we're just trying to figure out what, like there's some sort of, how do I describe this exactly? There's, like it's not as much about some big thematic game plan thing anymore. It's just kind of like one play leaves the least shots or kind of brings us on our way home, or there's some like small idea that's going to bring this home quickest. Maybe there's some idea or tactic that plays into the game plan most effectively. So I guess maybe you could say in a game plan sense that I favored purity and building high points when it's a time to go for impurity and just play this like a holding game. So maybe I was missing actually the holding game theme here in a way too, and thinking that I was containing 4 checkers. So, maybe I will call this one game plan after all. 447 is the error. So when I bring that spreadsheet up, what I like to do is place in the magnitude of the error and then the XGID. And a lot of times I like to mark it as like match 1, game 1, decision 9. So if I ever want to go look at it in the match file, I can go find that way too. So if you have an order for it, that'll work. But yeah, I think the main thing about this one, I'm not sure if I still want to write something about it in Evernote too. Let's hop in there. But yeah, kind of my trick with this one too is like even looking it over, I could imagine myself making this mistake again. And so I really want to like work on this until I can like eliminate that from my game somehow. So we'll paste the XGID in here too. What should I call this? This is end game holding game 6-6 or something like that. And what I actually end up doing for finding these is tagging them with all kinds of things that I can filter by. Holding game, we have many checkers back, and we have doublets. Maybe I had a category for 6-6s specifically as well. So yeah, just trying to get all the tags I can in there. I like to put in the XGID so I can pull it up in Extreme Gamut if I want to tinker with the position. And then I like to take a screenshot of the position as well as the equities of the plays, you know. And then if it helps me to do it, like I try to write out my thought process in my study. And so usually on a position like this, what I'd be doing would be like going through variants to kind of show myself why it's wrong here and why I would be right in other circumstances. And maybe I could do that on this, but I think it's just like I had the wrong idea by so much that there isn't a whole lot to be done in that sense of like trying to figure out what little piece I missed here. So maybe actually the shots being more valuable, that could be something that I worked with. So let's remove Evernote for a second and pull up how can I do this? I want to pull up a blank session of XG. Yeah, so let me share that real quick too. I got to add a window capture for this. XG2. Okay. So it's going to look a little wonky with sizing, but I'm going to pull that in here. But yeah, so maybe if the shots aren't punishing, this would change by quite a bit. So what if we do something like this, where when we get hit with a fly shot, I don't know, we have all kinds of life and it's not that big of a deal. We could look at it to see what the magnitude is at least. And so I didn't expect that it would change it. Magnitude's about the same. So this kind of, we can see it's 368 over here and 447 on the other one. So it did come down. But it sort of shows again that like just the thematic idea is so big here. What if we're not pointing on head? Can look at the magnitude now. Okay, we can just clear safely and leave nothing. That makes a lot of sense. But we still wouldn't want a volunteer shot. But it's getting closer for the distribution. Okay, we're finding something out there. And what else is there? I guess maybe another idea is if he's back here and we can just clear everything safely. Would that ever be better? Yeah, we should still make the point here, which doesn't seem too surprising. But yeah, so like looking through variants and like, I'm not sure that this is my instinct with this one, that there's probably nothing I can do to make it correct to play the way that I chose to there. But maybe we can at least get an idea of the magnitude and what's going on. But I mean, wanting to clear the contact on this is just so important. So here we would, I mean, this seems more clear that we would just break contact now and bring both in. So we can make it right there. But that's interesting. 13-1 is still reasonably close because we're like containing the back checkers from running or something like this, I guess. Putting a little more pressure there. And we do avoid making a stack of 7 on the 6. That could be a problem with it too. But okay, yeah, I don't have a whole lot to write about on this one. So I'm probably just going to leave it like this to look at it. And if I get stumped by it again, at least I have it in here to look at and have it tagged as like an example position of something to mess with here. But let's go ahead and remove this and go back to stepping through our match. Yeah, I played relatively clean in this one other than that big decision. And we'll kind of feel it as we go through the rest of this game too, what the problem with that particular play was too. Except, yeah, this is one that I worked with a student on here. So that he releases the contact from the 24 anyway for me. Which is the difference between like very strong game and a double pass. So I get away with it. Okay, I get to run there. I chose the tempo hit when 13-8 was better. These sometimes I like to study, just to make sure I'm getting really granular with. It's very common that the 13-8 and evening out the distribution is very strong. But I chose to unlink the bar point split and prevent any like rolls that might make a point or something like that, even though I guess those are probably pretty duplicated. Yeah, it just felt like the idea, but maybe being behind a little bit structure swings it. Close enough though, but I'm not too worried about it. What do we have here? This is beautiful. It gets to hit 2 and come around. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, I really struggled with this one. So after this one, I've got to figure out how to categorize and understand. So of course I saw that I can make a board point, but I felt like I was committing 2 of my very few builders to the deepest point available. And this was going to make it very difficult to fill in the 5 and the 4 naturally. And so, I mean, I guess this is of value against the 23 point, but I wasn't really sure. And thought maybe just bringing this down and hoping to make the, like having so many builders for the 5 or the 4 would be better here. So why is the board point immediately better? We'll have to think about reasons with this for sure. But yeah, this one, it still feels confusing. So I think possible reasons. One of them is that it doesn't look like our opponent's going to play a 23-point game in this game. They're going to leave this at some point. So maybe the points in order is less relevant because they don't have timing for it. So maybe that is a counterexample that we can try here to kind of test ideas. Let's bring up the second XG again. And let's say that they totally have the timing for a 23-point game and have a prime ready to hit and things like that. Maybe is this still enough timing? It's better. It's probably workable. So does this change anything? That's kind of my question about this one. 12 to 4, I guess, reduces shots. 13 to 10, 13 to 8, still, yeah, it's still not better to bring the builders down in this scenario, though. So it's not exactly the race or the purity of board, it wouldn't seem. If we have no board whatsoever in kind of blots, I wonder if we can afford to wait it all here now. Here's another one to look at. We're still ahead in the race. Oh, neat. So it makes it an option to just make the 5 points and volunteer shots is a little better. But it's still just weaker to bring 2 checkers home and not actually make the point. Okay. I guess part of it is that we're still going to leave shots a lot of the time next time, and that we'll have the weaker board. What else? What if we have the ace point made already, so we have less material to fill in? Does this change anything? I guess our opponent's structure can be the same here now. I don't see any need to have like destroyed that. So I don't know if I have any like guesses about exactly what this will do. Oh, now it's okay to make the, we should just go for it. So interesting. If we want to worry about the 5 point, we can do that by just volunteering now, and board strength seems to be relevant in that. But just making a board point is much better than bringing the 2 builders when they're not so well distributed like this, I guess, is kind of the lesson. The 5-4, what else can I do to test this out? I want to set up something with like better builder distribution. Like my idea was if I have like a real dilemma between 2 down or making a point in a position like this. What would be an example of that? I don't think the numbers quite work for this, because 5-4 is the only like 2 down I see, and that makes a good point instead. So I would want it to be like 6-5. I don't know. What if we... Is this crazy? I guess now 6-5 would be like playing behind or making a point behind, or bringing 2 down and focusing on building. I'd probably just dump the checker to the ace and keep the distribution. And I'm never just making the ace point, so I don't think there's that much of a dilemma here. Yeah, so maybe the lesson here, I mean, sometimes I just have to like come back to these, and I mean, I guess I'm just learning that just making a board point is better than the weak distribution, it would seem here, and maybe I don't have a great way to test that. But I can still make a note on that one and have it be something to come back to if I feel like I find a position that challenges the assumptions I'm making about this at the time. So we'll hop over to the spreadsheet, and we will export the XGID. This looks like relatively early in the game to me. Not a lot of board points or anything like that. And I guess I'm going to call this something like fundamentals or something like that, because it feels like the idea in play is just this very basic concept of like making a point being better than playing for distribution, right? So we'll call this make a point. It's funny that we can forget basic ideas like that sometimes and talk ourselves out of productive plays that way. And again, M1, G2 now, and then position 7. And I will also hop over to my Evernote, and we will make one here. Point or distribution. Oh, and I want that to be in the title. Yeah. So I guess maybe actually we'll hop back and look at dice distribution on that too and see if that highlights anything for me. Since I'm guessing that the amount of rolls that make the better points are less than I'm imagining, that might be part of it. All right, but so we're going to paste in the position and the solution. And then Having any points is worth more than the minimal distribution benefit I gained. Still not a favorite to make the 5 and 4. So I'm guessing at it a little bit there, so I'll leave the question mark on it. But we have checker, we have, oh, I should have early game, and we have, do I have a point category? No. Okay. Do I have a, I had like a basics. Yeah, we'll take basics in there and put that in too. But okay, so I have my Evernote article started on that now. Let's hop back, and I'll have to actually share the, I might have a dice distribution window on here already. Let's see what I can do with that. But I'm pulling that up real quick to look at the difference. We'll see if, yeah, I'll add window captures for this too. Dice distro 1. This is 2, but okay, that's fine. And we'll add dice distro 2, which is, I wonder, is it not going to let me show both of them? Oh, interesting. It seems like for whatever reason that yeah, we'll have to look at them separate. Okay. So I'll point out the different notes on it as I go through. But just glancing at them side by side, it's hard to see without both of them up at the same time. But after my 13-8, 13-10, I don't see a huge... So I guess what we want to look at is my second roll and how my rolls play next time. And so what are my really good rolls that I was looking for to begin with? Let's take this away and kind of imagine after we play 2 down, I guess I'm hoping to roll 5-3, 5-1, 3-1, 6-4, 6-2, 4-2 kind of stuff. And all of those are not going to play as well. So let's look back at the dice distribution. And after those, I can see that on my second roll, that my, where are those on here? 6-4 is pretty good. So we have, here we go. We have 5-3 is great at a 0.6. 3-1 is up there. 5-1 is around a 0.5. So I'm doing well after those rolls, but maybe not enough to compensate for like shot levers or something like this. This is interesting. I'm noticing double 4s is very good on this chart in that it's actually much better after the 8-3 play, and double 5s as well. Okay, so that's something to look at real quick. How do our 4s and 5s play after each play? After this one, 4s can play to here and then play 3 down or something like that. Maybe there's like a little bit of clean-upness that's kind of nice about it. But 4s, that seems like it'd be great after 2 down. Yeah, after 2 down, it seems like, I guess we make a stack of 5 and still haven't developed, and then we have to play 2 down. So I don't know, maybe we're just happy to have another board point in that case and not have to have one more thing to fill in. Kind of seems like the idea, is what I'm seeing. 5s doesn't clean up either way, but after this, it can play 2 down and make the 5 points. And after this play, it can play 1 down and make the 5 point. And in both cases, we don't have the 3 point when we would have otherwise. So yeah, I guess, I mean, maybe this is just way simpler than I'm making it now that I look at these kind of sequences. It's like in most of them, sure, after the 5-3, the 5-1 and such. So let's look at after 6-3 as well. 5-3, 5-1, and 3-1 we looked at as pretty good rolls. And so how do they do over here? They are apparently nearly as good. The 3-1 and the 5-1. So we're happy to use an ace, and I guess we don't want to use the 5-3 and leave 2 shots. So the 5-3 reduces in value down to a 0.3. That does get significantly worse. But most of our other rolls, I guess, are doing quite a bit better. We're just always happier to have the 3 point. Okay, that kind of makes sense. And so we can look at that as well in this, what it seems to be indicating is that if I pull up XG2 here, after we make the 3 points and our opponent, who knows, makes the 4 point, we'll say for fun. Could have hit with that. I don't know, whatever. And now we have a 5-3. I think it's saying we probably won't make the 5 point here. We'll have to bring 2 down. But by the dice distro, I'm assuming that it's, oh, it can just clean up. Oh, the aces are happy to consolidate the blot here. Interesting. Okay, so there's still something really productive for those rolls to do, even if making the 5 would have been nice. Like, we're pretty happy with our distribution and everything after that too. Okay. That's interesting. So those are still very strong rolls because they clean up. And when we go for distribution, we still have this blot to deal with anyway. That could be a big part of it too. Is that we're hoping to make the 6 or the 4 next roll. Yeah, we're hoping to make a high point next roll, the 5 or the 4. But if we do that, our opponent's likely to make a better board and we have to leave a shot again while we try to do that. So maybe this is a good variant to test here. Let's bring the other board back up and let's see what happens if this blot is somewhere else. This is quite a bit different. I don't know if this is a fair comparison. Let's look at it though. Yeah, okay. So now if we just move that back, the distribution unstacking the 6 is much stronger and we don't have the liability. So what if we're like this? Now we don't have the added benefit of unstacking the 6. Now our board's better so we can go for this and playing down. Okay. Yeah, so it's just like the unstacking part. We did have a 5th before. What if we're in the middle? And we don't have the ace, the better board. We like to... Yeah, okay, here we go. So yeah, if we don't have the blot to deal with, then we prefer going for distribution. So that seems to be a big part of it. I think I've like convinced myself there. So let's... I like to take variants like this and go back over to Evernote and add them. And we will remove XG2. And we will pop this in here. And get some screenshots. And yeah, I hope what you notice while we're going through this too is that, you know, like, of course, I'm sure most people in there studying, sometimes it's like you can just look at XG and know what the idea is and try to learn from that. But it's not always clear why your play was better or worse or anything like that. And all you can really do is tinker it and try to understand something more about the position. So I'm still not sure I understand this one perfectly. But I have spent enough time with it to learn something, you know, and kind of pick up on some idea that maybe will help me in the future. So even if maybe I would get each of these positions like wrong sometimes in the future, I think I've like learned something from this. So I'm going to type this out real quick. We want to clean up the blot next turn. So the added distribution original comes with the cost of leaving shots when we point. If the blot is safe instead, it's better to go for distribution. Yeah, okay. And I mean, of course, going for just finding counterexamples is like so potent in studying these positions and trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Because I mean, it very well could be that I show up in a match and then this secondary position we looked at comes up, and I think I've learned my lesson, so I make the 3 point, only to find out that that's also a blunder here, right? That's a really frustrating thing to happen when you're studying or memorizing or something like that. So hopefully it'll help keep you from like overlearning from mistakes or something like that too. But okay, we're gonna hit, and yeah, this all looks good, and we're slightly too good here. Is this the thing I want to study? This one is tricky. I'm sure the biggest theme here is just like, what is my opponent gonna roll that he can take next roll? But it doesn't look that strong to me, and it's not by a wide margin. So I think I'm okay with leaving this one alone. we'll hop on to the next game. I've got one highlighted here. So in my next decision, yeah, this was a really tricky one for me. In the end, I decided to just run and keep it simple, but I felt like I was down in the race. I was missing out on the opportunity to make the 11. After I make the 11, I don't want to run out to a double shot in a losing race. So yeah, this one, it's just, I mean, it stuck out to me as possible, but I couldn't pull the trigger on it. So what is the, I mean, in the spreadsheet here, for sure, this is early game kind of game plan stuff is how I would explain this. I chose to run and escape a single checker when I should be making a point and buying a tempo, things like this, and it's all functions of a race. So I think we can call it a tempo as well. And 67, we'll put it in here. And you can kind of see here too, after I go through 12 matches, you know, we're only through one right now, but what my goal with organizing these mistakes this way, match one this is. My goal with organizing these mistakes this way is to eventually come back to a spreadsheet filled up with, you know, I'll be able to see, are most of my issues coming in the early, middle, or late game? Are they mostly cube actions? Is there one category that keeps showing up in here? Do I need to go through a category and refine it into something more specific, you know? All kinds of things like this. But okay, so over in my notes here, we'll say early, I used to call these do nothing rolls. So I tend to get tripped up a lot. Here, I'm going to pull the spreadsheet off and the Evernote up. I tend to get tripped up a lot when we roll something that just isn't really productive and we're choosing, especially in the early game, the best of very weak options. And so, like, I think what happens to me is I shy away from, like, I don't want to make plays that I know are very weak, such as hitting loose on the 2 with my only spare on the 8. And so I keep looking for some other option, right? But sometimes, you know, the options are all bad, and I might end up finding something like 21 to 13 that I haven't figured out already is a terrible option, right? And it just looks like potentially less bad in this situation. So yeah, these can be really tricky ones to figure out for me, I think. Don't want to run away to a losing race. Want to make a point that contains in the 11. So against the single checker back, the blot on the 11, I'll show that too, by the way, is just like the blot or the point there just does so much work to keep this checker from running and finding full freedom. So it's particularly important to have something there. So we'll go back to Evernote. The 6 after hitting, or the 6 after making the 11 looks really weak. But the tempo prevents making the 5 or bar. So it does some work there, right? And works on gaining in the race. Risks very little. So I mean, I already have 2 checkers back. 2 to 1 is not really much worse than 3 to 1. So I can see a lot of reasons why the tempo is okay. It's just the hard part was just spending the final spare on the 8 to hit so deep. Yeah, okay. So checker, and we'll say this is like opening stuff, and it is like a 4th roll position, and we can mark it with tempo as well. Hopefully I'll come back to this somehow. And there we go. I think that's good enough for this position. Hopefully I can retain that one. You guys will have to tell me if I make similar mistakes and don't learn from what I'm doing here. But now we get to make the point, and we get to slot duplicating 3s. That was pretty nice. It felt like quite reasonable play in a position like this. We enter on the 22 and play down. Sure. What else is there? Pretty dead here. Okay. All right. This was interesting. I wasn't 100% sure with like a slightly leading score, but I remember this now that we tend to start splitting in that at a bigger lead we actually run. That one I'll just try to remember instead of making a note about. All right, I get to split. I get to make the anchor. I get to run to a winning race. Sure, just racing distribution plays. Nothing too interesting here. And I pass a little bit early in the race here. Yeah, this was a tricky one. I learned a little bit from it. I don't think I'll make a note out of it. But let's pull up the other XG. So my idea here was that in the a trice formula, 10 pips should be the point of last take here. So I figured I usually have a take, but it's close, and I can't tell who distribution really favors here for sure. But so what I decided was, since it was close, that I would use the even away, odd away thing to decide it, and that I would rather have my opponent get to an odd away score of 7 away than potentially get to 6 away. And so we can see it's a 41 take here. And if instead it was 7 away, 7 away, then it's a 92 take. So that influence was there. But what I underestimated was how, I guess, the point of last take, what side of it we were on. There might be something with this specifically in the 80 range too, where you have to adjust a little bit differently. So I feel like my racing formula told me that I should be closer to the borderline than this. So if I'm another pip down at normal scores, this is actually the point of last take, is 11 pips. So if I was going to categorize this, it would be like racing formula fails or something. There might be some distribution stuff going on with the 2 checkers on the 7 and those weak crossovers too. Yeah, I don't know exactly in this one. But I feel like I had all the, basics right there, and that my racing formula is just a little off, and I accept some margin of error there. So I'm kind of okay with that one. Don't feel like making it a focus of study to refine my racing formulas to get that position right. All right, we get to hit. Oh yeah, I just overthought on this one. I pointed on head and then thought that I would like to get off 6s from the bar, when of course I can just make a strong blocking point that interacts with the 5 very well. So I was thinking, of course we still have work to do here, right? So I think it's thinking a little too far ahead to be trying to reduce shots from the bar this early in the game. It's a great idea when there's nothing else to do with the roll. But here we have a really productive option in making the 11. So that one, I don't think I need to make a note on to remember. I'm just kind of grasp that. I could anyway, though. I'm glad I talked about it a little bit. Hopefully that's informative to people watching this too. What do we have here? So yeah, this one was really close. This could be, so sometimes these are very interesting to study, because it feels very natural to me to pop out to the bar, and I've got a fine play for that. But yeah, it's interesting against the material in the zone, the threat to make the 5 point, that the tempo is pretty good too. So what's interesting about this position to me is that I basically wouldn't consider this candidate. I'm just instantly coming off and trying to figure out how to get an advanced anchor as well. But I think the fact that they're close leaves me feeling good enough. But these can be good ones to study. You can learn a lot about backgammon from situations like that where you don't understand a close candidate. All right, we've got a symbol down in that one. Yeah, it's also worth pointing out when you study through these that you have to pick where you're going to focus and where you can apply your energy. And at some point, it's just too much to go through everything. So hopefully you feel me picking my battles in studying and making notes too. And I found a couple positions that were very challenging, and I didn't, at least for me, that I didn't completely understand, that felt worth trying to remember. They aren't super intuitive when I look at them, and so I'm going to try to make notes and categorize those. All right. Well, this is interesting. I should stay on my anchor instead of playing 2 down. Yeah. It leaves a ton of shots when I come around. It duplicates 2s might have been part of my idea. But I think maybe a nicer theme here is just that, I like to keep my anchor. I don't need to escape it to win this game necessarily. And also, my opponent has a better board. So a lot of times it's a big signal to not be leaving your anchor in situations like this anyway. So I would like to test some of those ideas out and see if there's something to categorize here. So let's bring the other XG up. And what if my opponent, how do I want to make them have a weaker board here? and still keep this option. I could just do this. Is this enough to change it? Now I make a 5' when I get away with it, so it is different in two ways, but I don't know. Let's look at it. It got closer or not? Not really. It's about the same. So our board got better. Not a big difference. How about... What is the original here, too? I want to make sure I can still see that. Yeah, okay. So we were here. What if our opponent's board is much weaker somehow? But they're ahead in the race now. What does this look like? Still feels like Purity might win here. What do you guys think? Okay, they're getting closer. For some reason, this 14-9 instead of the 13-8 is a big deal, though. That's really interesting. Why is it so much better to stay on the 14 rather than be hit by this bot? Does it introduce just a lot more shots than I'm thinking? Like a 5-4 and a 3-6 that don't do anything otherwise? That could be all of it, huh? It could just be that there's more returns. Maybe that's the lesson of this position that I'm missing. So let's hop back here and look at dice distribution for a second. And, ooh, I pulled them both up, though. Let's see. So, I'll be able to see at least one of them. So, when I look at this, what are my really bad rolls are just like 5-5. Oh, the duplicating actually seems to hurt us somehow. Because when I look at it on the other one, 2-2 is just an absolute, is just devastating. And that's the only one that like would bring us down to minus 0.7, where you can see the worst off we are here is minus 0.25, something like that. And yeah, so the 2-2 doesn't get anywhere. Yeah, we just have less anti-jokers a little bit. So we must have a lot of numbers that hit back. Over there on the other side after 24-19, 14-9 as well, it's 2-5, 3-2, 5-5, 2-1, 6-3, 5-4 are all pretty bad. So that's 6 including a set, so that's 11 rolls. And over here, 5-5 was one of those. Yeah, we have the same number, but we don't have the double twos, absolute anti-joker. And it seems like, in general, in some of these middling ones, we're just doing a little worse off, too. So it probably is just a few more shots. So what if I close this? Let's see here. I'm going to just look at the dice distribution after this one. Bring that back up. There we go. So this is after 20-14, 14-9. So it's like you can see in this section here that there's a pretty big difference. And so what are these rolls? What do they represent? After we come around, 1-1 is going to switch and do some funky things and hit 3-3. I'm not sure I understand what 3-3 does. Interesting. I guess, yeah, what? Oh, it makes the 5 point probably. That's about it. Probably a good roll either way. 5-1. I am not sure what that one does either. Doesn't seem like much. Gets to clean up. Oh, it can make the bar point. Oh, we're leaving the bar point slotted. Is that what a lot of this represents? That he gets a chance to advance his anchor? Yeah, the 1-6 is going to make it too. Yeah, that seems to be this whole chunk. Is that when we don't hit on the bar point, then our opponent has a lot of ways to make the bar point and have a good like mutual holding game. So it's really important here, it would seem, to prevent our opponent from making that advanced anchor and take all those options away. So that's definitely something that without looking at the dice distribution, I was not noticing. Okay. So is there anything I need to do to test that out? What if our opponent already had an advanced anchor? Would that be quite a bit different then? So like here, now it would not be such a huge improvement to make the bar points. So what happens? Yeah, now we should come around. Okay. And I still haven't looked at the difference between 13.8 and 14.9. I'm guessing it's just more shots. But we seem to have found the difference between the 2 down play and the leaving the anchor play, at least, right? We did advance these two. So if he has the strong board as well, if we bring these things kind of back in, yeah, we still have the better play there. Okay. So yeah, the theme here is don't leave the advanced anchor slotted when he doesn't have one yet, is what it would seem to be. So there you go. I don't know if that's everything going on in this position, but I found a good lesson out of it once again to go throw into my spreadsheet. So I'm going to call this is kind of like middle game, holding game. Do I want to call it? I don't know. This is like tactical though, or like, yeah, what is game plan? Where does this one fit? So a lot of these, yeah, these hardest ones for me, I guess, are ones that don't fit very clearly in places too. Or maybe that's why I don't understand it too, is that it occupies something a little bit that doesn't fit nicely into a category for me. We're going to call this M1G5-7. What do I want to call this? This feels like tactics again. It's just, I mean, maybe I would throw it under there, but like that seems to be the major thing of it, right? We could call it a split as well. Like it is kind of like we're attacking a split here, huh? That seems to be a big part of it. So we'll see if those keywords help me out at all. And then we'll hop over to Evernote and make a note on this. Holding game, which hit. And we're going to get, I think we need to get that somewhere where I can see it a little easier. There we go. All right. And the lesson that we learned was preventing the bar point anchor in addition to a nightmare 2-2 seems to be the biggest difference in these plays compared to below, where opponent already has the 20 points instead of the 23. And then we can pull the variant that I made there where it got quite a bit better. Bang. And snipping tool. I use snipping tool for all my screenshots, if you can't tell that from here, by the way, already. I always forget what you can see on screen while I'm doing this. And bring this one up. Oh yeah, I wanted to comment too. Why 13 to 8 instead of 14-9? Probably just leaves less shots from the bar. Say like 5-4-3-6 particularly. All right, and we'll say checker, hit. Maybe split is actually an interesting category to put under. I don't know if usually split are like when I have a decision to split, but maybe it'll be useful there. And do I want to call it like deep anchor? No. 23. Oh, 2-point holding game is 2-point anchor. Yeah, we'll do some things like that. Maybe that works. Okay. Let's take the Evernote down, come back over here, and continue on through positions. What else do I have going on? Nothing too big there. Get to make a point. Fantastic. Instead of hitting, yeah, it seemed pretty clear. 4-1. Don't volunteer all these shots against a good board. Don't need to. 6-2 is a bit of a whiff, so I just get to slot. Still kind of scary for him to hit. Get to cover. Beautiful. And then I get to cube out a 23-point game. Okay, this one I do want to make a note on. Not because I need, like, it's not going to go in my spreadsheet because I didn't lose any equity on it. But I know that this is the kind of position, these kinds of, we'll say, like, deep anchor cube. I just get hung up on like not noticing that things where I have an anchor and he doesn't have time against his deep anchor are as strong as they are. So this is just a nice reference for me to come back to as like a kind of weak point in my game that I know I should look at more often. Maybe this one seems a little more obvious, I guess, than a lot of them that come up for some reason to me. Wonder how I spotted this one. I missed one of these later in the weekend, so I'll come back to it. But yeah, the advanced anchor against the deep anchor, he can't split anymore. He's out of timing. You can kind of see this, you know. Cube, deep, or we'll say 23. No, that's right. I started referring to all the anchors by like the back point now, like the 23 point and stuff like that. But previously I used to do it this way. So we'll call this positional too. Like a nice positional cube. Okay. So there's an example of not a mistake that I wanted to keep as a reference, just to have something to look at in the future. All right, we run. We're in the last game of this match. 4-3. Can play behind. That's interesting. Yeah, weaker board. Not one that I feel like I need to categorize again. Feels a little weak to use our last pair to hit loose, but I wasn't sure what. We're down in the race too is the other kind of compelling feature. So I'm fine with it mostly. Okay. Yeah, some of these I thought about looking at closer because I lose a lot more gammons with my play. But of course they don't matter when the cube's on the wrong side. So sometimes it's nice to look at these and see how big of an error it is, if we're really missing something, if like the cube position is changed. And so here they're still pretty close, right? So I guess I don't have too much to worry about there. Just wanted to double check it. This one we're going to split and cover. Beautiful. And now I feel like I have enough game to play this out. Right on the take pass borderline. But yeah, he hasn't escaped yet. I have a decent board. Still work to do. Fairly like positional threat there. Okay, ace in 5. Oh, yeah, I get to hit with this. I remember over the board noticing 13-8 and almost like missing that I could hit loose on the 5 somehow there. But we get to, oh yeah, this is a tricky one. The advancing 24 to 23 I guess makes sense, but I just felt like why wouldn't I want the flush prime instead? Both have merit. It's hard to extend my 4 prime after I cover there. Okay, 5-2 can slot the back and stay all spread out back there. Neat. Okay. 13-8 gets to cover it. Oh yeah, this game looked like just an absolute disaster, like priming wise, and then I get to turn this around somehow with some loose hits off the edge of the prime. This was a fun one too. All these interesting plays. Here I had a bit of a dilemma here whether obviously I need my opponent to crack if I'm going to win a priming battle, but I don't want my opponent at the edge of the prime or risking making the anchor on the 22 either. So there's like a reason to do both of these. If I just don't hit, then I'm hoping for my opponent to enter with a high number and break down their prime somehow, right? So yeah, this was tricky. Not like too surprised to see them end up close. 11-3 gets to cover. Beautiful. He cracks. I get to run. He, misses out on the opportunity to anchor up there. I get to roll forward a little further. And then when am I... Oh yeah, I'm not going to recube this game. I remember I went a backgammon. 23... Yeah, my student learned an important lesson on this one, too, about doing things with the back checkers to not lose a backgammon. Of course, gets punished maximum for that miss. He's stuck behind a 6 prime and crashing now. Okay. 23. I want to keep maximum contact, I thought. 7-3 coming in seems kind of deep. That was interesting. I should have run this on ++ already. There we go. Okay. 7-4. Sure. Anything to work on distribution seems fine. Yeah, we get to clear one. We get to take 2 off. I guess this wasn't crystal clear. I could clear from the back And that probably wins, doesn't even win more here, yeah. Just look too stacky to put a 5th one on the 3rd, on the 3. Get to take 2 off, fantastic. 2 off, not so fantastic, but I get away with it. And get away with that. 4s can't do anything. I'm going to volunteer 1 last shot. I get to take this one off. Okay. And my 6s rip. Yeah, nothing else in that one. Cool. Well, that is 1 match. What did we didn't get too many positions in our spreadsheet from that. We ended up with, what did we, a middle game holding game position, a early game fundamentals, an early game plan, a late game plan. And that's about it for this time. So this will keep filling in with more matches and things to learn there. And of course, my Evernote is just always infinitely growing. The nice thing about this is like any tags that I used, of course I could jump to my like checker tag and see all the checker play mistakes I made there. And I could go through my, what else did I have? I had some like, do I have like a tactics category? I think I do. This might be nice to like look at this category along with some other mistakes that I made and try to like figure out kind of, you know, what else I might be missing there. So yeah, this is always nice to have just all kinds of positions to draw from there too. But yeah, let me know what you think of this video. If you learned anything from it, seeing me go through my study. Maybe I'll get back to just doing position analysis on some key ones or something like that too. Or maybe I'll do this because I get to, you know, kill 2 birds with 1 stone and do a little bit of study myself when I get to do it. So yeah, but either way, I'll be back with more videos soon. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye for now.